Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the AI Interconnect podcast, where we explore the front line of prop tech, automation, and intelligence business systems, where the founders and operators driving the next wave of innovation. I'm your host, Laurent, and today I'm joined by Emmanuel Lavoie, the CEO of Jetstream. And Jetstream help property managers in short-term rental space scale their businesses without scaling operation headaches. And if you are ever try to sync listing across Airbnb, VRBO, or Booking.com, or a dozen or more, you already know how messy that can be. And Jetstreams bring structure, automation, and a serious reach to that problem. Emmanuel, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Laurent. I'm thrilled to be on your podcast. And that description of Jetstream, if you don't mind, I might borrow it from you because it's about the best one I've ever heard. So thank you.
Okay, there's many things we're going to share, and that's the idea of this podcast. And that's great. I'm very happy to have you here. And let's start at the beginning. Emmanuel, for those who don't know you yet, and what's your story? How did you find your way into tech and the short-term rental space?
Yeah. So, not to make it a long story, but I was born in Montreal, in Quebec, Canada, and I studied mechanical engineering in school. So I had no idea what I wanted to do after school, and I ended up sort of by accident and not by choice, that's for sure, in HVAC engineering, which means designing, building, cooling, fire protection systems for commercial, residential, and sort of high schools and that kind of stuff. I ended up spending 9 years in that career, and frankly, there were aspects of it that I loved, but I really didn't not like my job. I was a miserable sort of person, work wise, career wise. And the reason I didn't like my job, not the intellectually was very stimulating, is that I didn't like the business model, which was just selling hours. And the only way to make more money was to sell more hours or to hire more people so that they can build more hours. It's not a healthy lifestyle. And I was looking at my sort of older business partners, and there's nothing about their lives. They were all wonderful humans, but nothing about their lives that I truly sort of admired. I wasn't thinking, oh my God, I want to be that in 30 years. So after 9 years, I built a business, sold a business in consulting engineering. I quit consulting engineer. I was the youngest partner in the firm, the first ever quit. It was a bit of a disaster. And my friend, Mike, who I met paragliding in 2011, had just started what is now Jetstream, but at the time was called Leavetown. And I think he had 4 employees. It was him and plus 3 others. And he said, hey, you're a smart enough guy. You're an engineer. Why don't you sort of buy a portion of this business and join me in this business? And sure, I took a 2/3 salary cut to join. And that salary cut lasted a long time, by the way. So it was quite a painful moment in my life financially, but a really exciting moment because all of a sudden I was in a completely different industry. And that's how I ended up here today. Fast forward 10 years. I've now been in this industry longer than I was in building engineering as of this year. And that's pretty exciting.
I love it. You can make a longer story. I love these stories. This is very nice. And okay, then you talked about Leavetown and your early days, and you transitioned into Jetstream. And what was the big insight or turning point that led to Jetstream becoming its own standalone platform?
Yeah. So when I joined Leavetown, this is 2015 at this point, the business was essentially trying to be an OTA, so an online travel agency, specialize in Western Canada. So our branding was all about moose and bears and eagles and Canadian Rockies. Uh, you know, so really, with lots of retrospect, that was a crazy thing to try to be doing because we were essentially trying to battle against Booking.com and Expedia, which is impossible. But what it was allowing us to do was just knock on the doors of these resort management companies and say, hey, we got this cool Canadian booking website. Do you want to be on it? And of course, no one said no to that. Sure, we'll be part of that. So we were essentially capturing clients and accounts. But of course, being, and Mike really is the one who started this, so, all credit to him. In order to make income, because we weren't making any money from leavetown.com, what we were secretly doing at the time is we were putting the listings on VRBO, initially VRBO only, and eventually Airbnb. And this is back in the day before the platforms were transactional, i.e. Airbnb was always transactional, but in the early days, VRBO was you paid an annual fee, and that was it. You didn't pay a percentage of your bookings. So with a sort of $2,000 a year platinum subscription on Verbo, you would appear sort of at the top of the rankings, and we would just create these listings. And of course, when the people reached out on Verbo, we had no technology. We just had essentially call center agents. They would call the resort and say, "Hey, I got a booking. Can you take it?" The whole time, the resorts thought it was Leavetown.com that was actually making the bookings, but in reality, we were giving them distribution on new channels. So that's how we were making secretly money initially. And eventually, I like to say we came out of the closet in 2016 or 15. I went to a large trade show in France called Grand Ski, and I just started drawing to the prospective customers. Hey, this is what we do. You know, you're here, we're in the middle, and we're gonna put you on Airbnb and Verbo. And by the way, we're gonna also put you on Leavetown.com. And the response was incredibly positive. So it's like we were accepted when we finally said the truth about what we did, and not only with new customers, but with existing customers. I think it still took us a year and a half to realize that leavetown.com wasn't the product. That's how dense we were, to be honest. It took a while to click on that, but finally we did with the help of one of our advisors and realized, the product of this business is not leavetown.com. It's this thing in the back, which is a distribution tech. And that we finally rebranded to Jetstream in 2018. We created essentially a new internal brand for the back-end distribution technology. I can go on about the story, about various things. I don't want to, I'll let you lead the conversation, but that's how we got to the product of Jetstream, to answer your question.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. No, no, it's if I don't stop you, you just go over my question, and it's absolutely no problem.
Okay.
But I mean, right, for our listener who work in prop tech or real estate, but maybe not in short-term renting, um, how would you explain what Jetstream does in one sentence?
Oh, in one
Or two.
sentence, Jetstream helps resorts and hotels distribute their rooms on Airbnb and Vrbo. We do much more than that. We have other product verticals, but in one sentence, a lot of, so that's the one sentence. So
Yeah.
a bit deeper than that is a lot of large hotel and resort groups out there have inventory or have assets that have vacation rental style amenities, typically kitchens, kitchenettes, that kind of stuff. So especially in Western Canada where we grew up, and not just Western Canada, but I'd say actually, especially in leisure destinations, there's these condo hotel buildings on the ski slopes and so on where you show up, there's a front desk, but you're given your key and you go to your unit and it's a 3-bedroom condo. It's no different than a 3-bedroom house. It's just in an apartment building. That type of asset is typically run on hotel technology, which is I don't even want to say legacy, but it's its own technology vertical. That technology vertical doesn't speak well or at all to vacation rental channels because they've never had to. They just don't come from that world. They come from booking.com and Expedia distribution. So Jetstream evolved as being this perfect little middleware software and service, and we can speak about the service solution later, but as this perfect little middleware that converts the hotel language of technology to the vacation rental language and makes a commission off the bookings that flow in between. And that
Okay.
was sort of 2016 that this epiphany came. Fast forward 9 years, and that is still our main business line with an incredible amount of opportunity. Very happy customers, and my sales pitch is just about the same as I was doing 9 years ago to this day.
I love it. Okay. Then from the outside, Jetstream looks like a channel manager.
Yeah.
But clearly, as you just said, it goes much deeper. Uh,
Yes.
and then let's go. What's the
Yes.
full service layer that makes that platform different from a traditional PMS integration or property manager system?
Totally. Great question. Our our chairman of our board, who's now invested twice in this business because we sold it once and repurchased it, he said to me the first time he invested, you know, the real secret in tech companies, well, I mean, for most tech companies, obviously there's exceptions and they become multi-billion dollar companies. But for the average sort of startup that wants to become a decent sized tech company, it's not just the tech. It's sort of the services you can put on top of the tech that make you extra sticky. So if you think of a traditional channel manager, sort of like Rentals United or Nextpacks of the world, and there's others, they're just pure tech. Connects this system to that system, and that's that. Um, because we evolved, and it wasn't some master plan on our part, to be honest, but that's just how we evolved. Because we evolved in taking a vertical, the hotels and resorts that had no experience on distributing their rooms on Airbnb and Vrbo, we had to sort of help them do it. So we had to layer on services on top that would complement our technology distribution in order to have a sort of like a turnkey solution that would make it easy for this customer base that is not an expert customer base at what we do to do it. So there's a few things. Number one, and it's still like this today, and it's been like this for 9 years. We write all the listing content for the ads for the listings on Airbnb and Vrbo. Now you might say, well, why do that? Well, the hotels, like for example, we work with IHG, right? We push 600 of their hotels on Airbnb and Vrbo. They never had the need to write descriptive listing content. If Expedia and Booking.com as channels, it's programmatic content creation. But on Airbnb, it's a very sort of like millennial, experiential, book my place. You're going to love the coffee shop. There's a great gym downstairs. And oh, while you're there, check out my favorite park kind of situation. All of that we do. So we really make shiny listings with very curated image selection and placement and so on. So that's kind of number one. That's our content. And now, of course, with AI, and I'm sure we're going to get into that, we're accelerating our ability to do that at scale. But not long ago, it was literally a team of human writers that did this for every single listing, as you can imagine. It was painful.
That's true.
So that's layer one of service. Layer two is a 24/7 guest services team. You can call it a call center. Uh, this is our own agents. We have 10 of them located around the world: Canada, Spain, South Africa, and the Philippines. And we respond to all inquiries 24/7, 365 on these channels. And again, and that, to be honest, even surprises me. Again, IHG, we work with Vail Resorts, which is a $10 billion publicly traded company. And I would think they would have the resources internally to do this, but they don't. They tell me, oh, we're just not set up. Like, I mean, yes, they could throw a bunch of money at it, of course, and solve it, but it's just simpler to have a solution like us where it's all wrapped into one, and we do it really well, and we have our own expertise at it. So the 24/7 call center, it is one of our biggest value propositions in our solution, which is not what I would have expected. And I know this from interviewing my customers, so that's why I'm comfortable saying that. So that's the second layer of service. And then the third, and I'd say the third could happen with a pure technology solution as well, but we're very good at the third. It's just world-class account management. We're heavy. We found for our success, and I'm going to say this to any entrepreneur out there, leaning in hard into your customers with good account management, at least in our industry where we have an expansionary customer base, meaning when I sign up a resort or hotel group, they will often grow their business. They will acquire more hotels without me doing anything. They grow their business. So the best thing I can do is just to be the very best partner in the world for them and present them. And that's kind of the final piece of the puzzle: great data, great analytics. Essentially, they're trying to run their own businesses. So the more I can be a partner that brings them valuable intelligence of how their listings are performing on these channels. We have other software tools that allow us to do competitive analysis of pricing of their listings against the competitors. This is all just really good information for them to help them run their business. So leaning into account management has been the key to our success. So those are the layers of service we put on top of the pure connectivity, which I think my thesis is pure connectivity is commoditized at this point. It's about what you do on top. And then, of course, you can AI the top over time, which is part of our conversation today. But that's the layers of service on top of the tech.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. And how do your clients, especially those managing 50 plus units,
hmm
uh, typically find you? And what do you say is the biggest pain point you're solving for them?
Okay. So I'll start with the biggest pain point and then we'll talk about how we find them. So biggest pain point.
How they find you?
Okay. How they find us. Okay. Let's start with how they find us. So I should say we have two product verticals as well. And it's a very interesting situation in our business. The biggest product vertical is the one I just described to you. We help resorts and hotels be a full service channel manager to Airbnb and Vrbo. I have another product vertical, which is where we help, and I'm going to keep it short on this description, but then I'll answer your question. The second product vertical is we help sort of asset owners, people who own boutique hotels, 15 rooms or less, or real estate agents or real estate brokers, even cleaning companies, or people who own personally sort of 5 or more units. For them, we provide a complete technology, not only the channel manager, but the property management software system, the revenue management, the pricing. So sort of like, again, we wrap technology with our services and we sell it as a bundle. We're kind of like a virtual property manager in both sides. So on the first side of my business, the big one, the hotels to Airbnb and Vrbo side, I struggle to find new customers through digital ways. We have built our business through trade shows. So again, advice to entrepreneurs out there, I cannot for the life of me sign up new customers through digital, even though we have a perfect product market fit. I know because we have happy customers that have been with us for 8 years, large publicly traded, multinationals who love Jetstream. And yet I would think, as soon as I knock digitally, marketing wise, on the door of their of another similar company, they would be all ears to listen to what I have to say, and they don't. Yet, if I go to a trade show and meet the person in person and draw my little sketch of what we do, the same sketch I've been doing for 10 years, we have an incredible success rate at closing. Similarly, existing customers will recommend other people they know in the industry. So that hotel side is it still baffles me. It's still a very organic growth thing, which I'm trying to solve every which way, but it's not working. I just got to keep going to trade shows and keep asking for referrals. The second part of the business, the one that is smaller to us, which is where this sort of virtual property management, we're not a property manager, but we power property managers by being a sort of like virtual back end solution. We have a lot of online content. We have a lot of online content on the first one as well, but it doesn't really work or generate leads. On the second side, we have a lot of online content, and I get 1 to 2 leads, sort of like maybe one lead every 2 days on that side of all kinds. Small asset owner, a small boutique hotel owner, um, and so that one I don't build through trade shows. It's purely all online. So there you go. And I'd very much
Good.
like to solve the first one as well online.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there's always something to solve. There's always
So,
a
but you
problem.
were asking
Um,
about the pain point. So obviously the pain, I think
yeah.
the reason is for the first one, the hotels and resorts to Airbnb and Vrbo. I don't think there's a lot of, well, I don't think, I've been at this for 9 years in this vertical, 10 years in this vertical now. I don't, it's like, I don't know if people realize the problem they want solved. Like I will speak to I go to trade show and I will speak to someone and they will have never thought that, hey, oh yeah. I mean, it's changing now finally, but it's, historically over the last 10 years, people didn't know that, oh yeah, I guess I could sell my rooms on these channels. The answer will be like, oh, I thought that was illegal. Oh, I thought that was only for people renting their spare bedrooms. It wasn't a conscious, it wasn't in their consciousness that they could be marketing their properties on these channels. So it's like I bring a solution that is really good to a customer base that doesn't even know they should have the solution. Versus the other one, there's people literally online shopping every day saying, oh my God, I got 3 assets, 3 units in the Smoky Mountains, Tennessee, and I need help. Google help me. And then Google recommends us. So
I love
the
it.
challenges.
Yeah. Very cool. Then, I mean, yeah, you have been with this in this space long enough, 10 years, to see how fast things evolve.
Hmm.
And what trend are you seeing right now in short-term renting ecosystem,
Yeah.
especially from tech and maybe the regulatory side?
Yes. Well, so regulatory side is definitely getting more and more challenging, uh, at least on the channels we're on. the channels that we operate on, Airbnb and Vrbo, the ones we're experts at primarily, they grew up serving, people like you and me renting their spare property on these channels. So they've had to get very sort of regulation heavy to support the local governments to make sure that the rules are enforced. We bring commercial inventory that's like a hotel that doesn't need the same type of regulation, but so again, this is a very unique use case to us, but the channel requires it. Airbnb requires a short-term rental license, or else the listing won't even go live. So increasingly, we're forced to go to our partners and say, "Hey, you need a short-term rental regulation license." And again, a couple of years ago, the answer was, "Well, what is that? I don't even know why I need that because I'm just a hotel. Why? No one's ever asked me that." But surprisingly, increasingly, they're being asked that elsewhere. So there's just an increase in regulation all around, and and friction, and even launching for marketing purposes, unless you have the right uh, registration license, which is painful all around. So I'd say so. There's definitely massive increase in regulation. There's well, I'll leave technology for last. The other part that we're seeing, which is also challenging for operators, is just the I won't say the word crazy, but the significant increase in guest demands around flexibility, partially driven by, I'd say mainly driven by the OTAs. So these online travel agencies, of course, they're $100 billion companies. They have the data to show what listings are converting best. And surprise, surprise, the listings that convert the best are the ones that have the most flexible cancellation policies. So then they drive that down to their suppliers, which is Jetstream's an aggregator of supply, but the hotels, and say, if you want to perform, you need to drive more and more flexibility, flexibility in rates, flexibility in cancellation policy. So we're really just always on a treadmill of running, running, running to keep ahead or keep in line or just try to keep up with the increasing guest demands around flexibility, which is not easy. It's not easy from the technology. It's not easy from operations, and so on. Which then I guess leads to technology. I mean, that's a big topic, technology. Where do we even start? But um, you know,
Yeah,
yeah, let's dive into technology. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Let's talk
Yes.
tech. And
Let's.
what role is AI starting to play in how Jetstream operates? Whether that's automation, guest messaging, or maybe the channel optimization.
Mhm. A lot is the answer. I think we're
Yeah.
quite a tech forward company. Yes, we've always an innovative company. That's for sure. Our customers love that about us. Uh, Through that culture, again, I'm an engineer. I'm at the top of the business. I'm surrounded by engineers. Our leadership team is very engineering heavy. So we're always sort of quite innovative company at our core DNA. So we've embraced AI quickly. Our CTO just finished his master's in AI, which he's been working on for 4 or 5 years, part time, obviously. So it's sort of seeped into our bones. So yes, and I'll give you examples of how we're using AI in the business. But sort of like if I just look at the industry as a whole, it has actually. So I have a thesis for the industry that one day, and I'm sure I'm not the only one with this thesis, but the property management software is at the core. It's the platform in our industry. Jetstream is not. I mean, I have a small product vertical where we have a little bit of that, but really the big part of the business is we're not the platform. We're a bolt-on to the platform. We're a bolt-on marketing tool to the platform to help the platform reach new channels that the platform, being the hotel PMS systems, doesn't do well. I have a thesis that one day the PMS systems will be a self-driving car, so to speak, right? It'll be a self-driving PMS where rate optimization happens fully automatically, and that already happens with revenue management software systems. Guest communications is fully automated. Access, sort of like all the parts that the technology already automates, which that happens. There's going to be sort of like an intelligence layer, an orchestrating intelligence layer that is going to bring beyond the automation. Because sometimes the automation needs some human input. Hey, I've analyzed some data over here, and the data says that XYZ, therefore adjust this and that. That's kind of my thesis. And I'm sure that the big, big, big platforms, the ones that have, the in our in on the hotel side, there's Opera as a large PMS. On the vacation rental side, there's the Guesties and the Hostaways of the world. I'm sure they have the same thesis and they're gunning for that. What has surprised me, honestly, so far is that I'm not seeing signs of that happening yet. I'm very in tune. I attend the webinars. If one of these PMSs has a webinar because I'm on their marketing list, I'll go and attend and I want to see what they're doing. And I'm not seeing that yet or even close to that. So I actually think that implementing AI well, we're still in the very, very early innings. We are at Jetstream in the early innings. We're seeing some like tactical advantages, and I'll talk about that. But it's hard still to have the self-driving car of hospitality. I think we're quite a ways from that still, just from what I can see. So the startups you're seeing are these point solutions. Because I follow Focus, right, which is sort of like the tech hospitality newsletter for at least the hospitality side of things. And yeah, there's all these little micro startups around AI, but they're very addressing like a singular pain point versus I still think we're a ways away from the self-driving PMS with a human to just oversee it. Now at Jetstream, I think Jetstream is in a really good position with AI because obviously everybody in tech got super scared at the beginning of the kind of, 2 years ago. So did I, but then I took a breath and looked at our business and I thought, actually, okay, wait, we have a core technology, which is sort of like our le nerf de guerre. It's kind of like our driving force of it's how we get customers. It's why people buy and partner with us. But then we have these services on top that are very human heavy. The onboarding with a bunch of human writers was very heavy. The 24/7 call center responding to literally thousands and thousands of inquiries a week is very heavy as well. So we're, I think, in a great position to be able to use AI to, again, tactically address some operational pain points, which I think is the first real great use case of AI. And we are doing that. We've built some great AI models to help us with onboarding, and we scaled onboarding at least genuinely at least 10x in our capacity to do so in the last year, which is transformative for the business, as you can imagine. And then on the guest services side as well. We haven't made the same inroads yet because we're still a small, profitable tech company with not, we don't have unlimited resources. So we're tackling one project at a time, but we're definitely digging into that. And we just want to elevate our agents. Right now, for example, they get 70% of our inquiries we receive from guests are things that are like, is there a pool? Well, yes, it's an amenity that's described in that's a program could answer that very easily. So about 60 to 70% of inquiries are very low level. You don't need intelligence to answer that. So they're very AIable and we're working on that. So I think like any business that is sort of AI forward right now, we're just using AI to tactically approach operational problems to reduce our operating costs, to increase our operational leverage, and to be able to scale.
Okay. Yeah, makes
Yeah,
sense.
it makes
And
sense. I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I no doubt about all this. And what about the channel optimization? Nothing on that front?
Oh yeah. So channel optimization, that's a really good point. So right now we are in the early innings of using AI for that. So first thing that we had to do is to understand our data. And sort of Jetstream's data sort of journey really started only about 2.5 years ago. Before then, we were still just building the business, building the API, and building our capacity to sell to our customer, onboard them, launch them, and get bookings. And if we didn't get bookings, we didn't really know why. If we got bookings, hey, great, we didn't really know why either. So now we have just incredible data sources, and I won't get into our secret sauce of how we do this, but we've built multiple data tools that allow us to put a lot of data into a data lake, and then we just use Power BI for our humans, our director of data and revenue, and our account managers, and our CTO, and so on, to sort of like get in there and understand what's going on. We haven't yet built, and we've played around with like putting the data lake export into ChatGPT and say, hey, what do you think of this and that? But we haven't yet, again, sort of like first automated and then second AI'd. I think that's the holy grail because that's the beginning of the intelligence for the self-driving system. Right now, it's still our humans that are the intelligence for that. So we're crushing it because unlike a lot of our competitors and even some of our partners, we have data tools that they don't have access to, but they're still human powered data tools for now. Still
Yeah.
on our journey.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. That's right. Um, and I wanted to ask, how do you think about maintaining this human touch
Yeah.
while scaling with automation?
I think there's a, yeah, I think well, it's crucial. So what I've learned, and is about leaning into account management, as I've said, with our partners. So on two sides. So we have two sides. We have the partner side, which is the hotels and resorts, and then we have the guest side. So I'm going to talk about the partner side because Jetstream's real customers are not the guests. It's actually the hotels who give us commission to sell their assets on these channels. On that side, again, not only is our biggest success been in attending trade shows, signing up customers, but the best marketing money we've ever spent is actually to go on the road and visit our customers in person. It's incredible. And I think that won't change. I mean, I work remotely. I'm online every day. I take meetings online. I'm on Zoom all day, and that's great. You can run a business that way, and you can sign up new partnerships that way. But to deepen a partnership, um, in-person meetings and lunches and a glass of wine or dinners is where it's at. So our tools will just allow us to present better information and be better at what we do, but we're never going to replace that side. On the guest side, I think it's the same thing, caveated that we don't have to go have lunch and dinner and wine. I want to use AI tools to solve 70 to 80% of the lift and then just have our humans deal with the 20% on top and then just scale the business so that the same number of humans can handle 3, 4, 5 times more bookings. Again, just operational leverage, but still have the humans. We would never get rid. And also, to the point of how passionate we are about that side, because our number one core value in the business is delivering guest and partner delight. That's number one core value. You can't do that even if you outsource your call center. All of our call center agents are our own employees. They've been with us for 5, 7 years. So it's a core to our values is that we would not, yeah, not try to automate everything and live in a completely AI world. At least not for very many years ahead.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course. And touching your point about the the relationship and getting to visit your clients and this approach of spending time and yeah, I mean that's the best, but it's already your client. Um, and I mean this is good to do on prospect as well, but you still have to find them first before going and meet them and shaking hand or taking a glass of wine. Uh, but I see your point.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
and that's
so on the prospecting side, let's talk about that a little bit. We have historically not been good at marketing, or in fact, almost done no marketing. Like I said, we just grew the business in trade shows, personal relationships. So it's got us to where we are. We're still alive. I can't say that of many tech companies of the last 10 years, and we're profitable, which I'll get again. So that's, very proud of what we build. But on the flip side, I don't have a scalable growth approach. You know, I'm sure you speak to people on this podcast that have found a way that, you put $10 into meta ads and you churn out 50 on ARR on the backside or whatever. We're still not that. We're trying to crack that, and it may not be crackable in what we do. If, at enterprise, like our average customer ACV, average contract value is north of 50,000 a year. So when that's enterprise sales, when you're dealing with enterprise sales, there is no put $10 into Meta and get 50 out, or $10 into LinkedIn ads. It just there isn't. I know that I'm part of some different tech entrepreneurship groups, and I'm very well bucketed into the enterprise side. So what I'm trying to do is reach, with some thought leadership, LinkedIn ads, thought leadership ads, online content. That's kind of how you got to build a brand, a voice, and authority in the space to who are customers, who are directors of revenue management, directors of sales and marketing. These are professionals. I go to trade shows. These people are wearing suits, and they have no time for crappy content online or in their inbox. So I don't know how to AI scale that side of things, but we're working on trying to at least scale my voice online, scale great
Okay.
content. And of course, we're using ChatGPT and other AI tools for that, both on the graphics and the tech side.
Thanks for the insights.
Yeah.
Um, let's talk about growth. Jetstream is now in multiple countries
Yeah.
uh, and profitable, powering distribution for serious operators, as you say, um, HT. What's been the hardest part about scaling your model?
The hardest part about scaling our model, well, it's been the
That makes
financial
sense.
side for sure. It's just it
Okay.
was getting the capital to build all of
Yeah.
this thing, and we've had some lucky breaks. So we basically identified product market fit sort of 2016, did a small round of raise. Again, we're Canadian. The scale in Canada of fundraising and everything is just way smaller than the US. So we just operate in different scales. So we did a small raise in 2017, and less than a year later, we sold to an American company. They were expansionary. They'd raised a bunch of capital. They wanted to buy businesses. Lucky for us that we did at the time we did, because we were just about out of capital and just about, quite honestly, bankrupt. So very lucky break at that moment. Very psychologically difficult, because all of a sudden we were employees in our own company, and everything we'd been working so hard to build. Like, to give you a sense, once we sold the business, within 6 months, the business had tripled in size, in revenue, because we'd been building so many great things. We sort of burned the cash we'd raised. I mean, I look pictures of myself 10 years ago, and it's drastic how much younger I look and how hard this business has been, because of the financial
Wow.
side, at capital. But then we got super lucky. COVID happened. That was not lucky for humanity or for anybody, frankly. But it presented this very unique opportunity to repurchase our business from the acquirer, because they were also burning tons of capital, and so they had very little leverage. So when the musical chair, so to speak, of travel stopped, they were in a tough bind. They owned this Canadian entity with a European subsidiary. It was very complex, and we just said, "Look, we'll just buy this off you." They owed us a little final payment, and we just called it even and took our business back. So that was also a lucky thing that helped us financially. But even then, very, very stressful years after that, because we took the business back with lots of debt to suppliers, which we finally solved in 2023, by sort of converting debt to equity through another raise, same investors as the first time, and then finally, now we're profitable. So yeah, the financial side, because the rest, of course, HR and managing people is always the hardest part of a business. But if I were to rank them in our journey, capital was number one, HR was number two, and the rest is just tackling every day. It's business. If it was easy, everybody else would be doing it. But we've always had again, I'm an engineer. I've always wanted to work with senior engineers. So we have our development team is Canadian based. It's all senior. So we don't really struggle with technology problems. And I think that's why our customers like us. It's expensive to build that way, but it served us well in the long run. But it's expensive to build, and back to the money problems. Yeah, because the rest, expanding internationally, wasn't that hard. We just had a great person in Canada who actually wanted to move to Europe, and they went and opened our office in Europe. So sort of everything else has worked out really well. And going to trade shows, signing customers, having good employees. Employees leaving, it's hard, but you replace. But running out of
Okay.
cash multiple times, that'll take some hairs off your head, I'll tell you.
Yeah, this, yeah, definitely. No, no, but I agree.
Yeah.
um, I mean, but I love to talk about other challenges like uh, top of my your leadership
hmm
or or product point of view. Um, what are these challenges on leadership and point of view and product point of view?
Got it. Okay. Product point of view challenges. I think for our business is that we're just a little speck of sand, literally, working amongst multi billion dollar companies, both on both sides. Airbnb, Booking.com, Vrbo, these are like 50 to $100 billion companies. And then on our supply side, Vail Resorts and IHG and these
And you're
large
in the
resort,
middle.
we're in the middle. and we are at the mercy, like, Airbnb just moves their shoulder and they just throw us, into the ether basically. So,
Uh,
it's worked out well, but it's been hard. But that's what you do. You're the small guy. You got to constantly adjusting to, we've updated our API. Hey, we have an API upgrade here. You guys need to do this. Oh, we have a new security requirement, a new cybersecurity thing you need to do. It's a lot of, if I look at our tech resources capacity, how much of it goes to just sort of keeping up with the demands of the technology demands of our partners on both sides, it's at least a third, I'd say. So that's hard. It leaves less room for our own product development and innovation. So I'd say that's probably the most challenging part. From a leadership perspective, I mean, I grew up, I started in this business as a business development, my first role. Then I became CEO, OO, now CEO. So I've had my own challenges of, for me personally, initially was just delegation, right? Engineers, I think, are terrible at delegating because we think we can do it better than other people. I don't think it's just for engineers, but certainly engineers were very hands-on people. So I think it's a trait. I was lucky when I left building engineering, is that all of a sudden I was working with engineers where I could not do their work. I'm not a software developer. So I was forced to delegate. It's probably the only time, and probably the greatest thing that happened to me was to actually go leave my discipline of engineering and work with other engineers who do something I can't do. But that's just the engineering side. There's all different roles in the business where initially it took me a long time for me personally to be able to let go. But I think that's the evolution of any leader in this world, our own professional and leadership journeys. And now, we've gotten to the point where we have an absolutely incredible leadership at Jetstream team. We have the best team ever in the history of the business. Leadership team's absolutely impeccable. And it's allowed me finally, after 10 years, to, I think, reach a level where I can focus on the bigger picture things. But it's been a journey of leadership to get there, and false starts and some bad hires and holding on to bad hires too long, which we should have, hire fast, hire slow, fire fast. I know this is such a cliche, but it is so true. And we just don't do it. We get well, I could solve this. I can fix this person. Oh, we'll just give another, all of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's always, yeah, always like
Yeah.
this.
It's
Um,
always like this.
uh, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you if you had to rebuild Jetstream
Yeah.
from scratch today,
Yeah.
uh, what would you do differently?
I had to do, well, that's a great question. The whole business? I think, well, one thing that I would do differently is that we took this detour towards this other product vertical that I'm telling you about. We did that because our data at the time was showing us that that made sense. It was a higher value product play than our bigger vertical. I think in retrospect, I wouldn't do that. I mean, we followed the data at the time, but I think I would focus more. Yeah, I think if we were to redo, I mean, if I had what I know in the business today and I went back to the beginning, I would focus to death on our big hotel resort vertical and just do nothing but that, and then do way more marketing. We've always been under marketed as a company. We've always invested more in engineering. It's served us well in the long run, but it certainly hasn't led historically to a great growth rate. But it's led to happy customers, so it's like, for investors, you want a higher growth rate, but for happy customers who will be with you for a long time, you want a great product. We focused on that, and it served us well to get to where we are. But I think we could still have done better at marketing. And myself, I never studied marketing. I didn't really understand marketing. I'm better at it now. I sort of have at least a sense of what we should be doing, but we're still not doing it. So I would have done number one, focus on the core technology and don't get distracted by these side things, and then lean more into marketing from the beginning and be relentless in marketing. Relentless. And we
Okay.
haven't been,
Yeah.
and we still aren't.
Yeah. Okay. Then, okay, we got it. Yeah. What's next for Jetstream? Um, are there any launches, um, other partnerships, strategy shift? No, maybe not your focus, but in the next 12 months.
Yeah. Next 12 months, I think right now we're focusing on just internal operational efficiency. We've more or less doubled the business in the last 12 months with the same team size. So the teams are cracking at the seams, finance team, guest services team, content and onboarding team. So all of our tech sprints right now, for the most part, I mean, we are, again, keeping up to date with Verbo's APIs and Airbnb's API and so on. But in terms of core effort, it's around internal operational efficiency so that we can scale the business and double it again with the same team size. Keep in mind that when we build this stuff, when we do focus on internal efficiency, we are sort of trending towards the business that runs and sells through AI, right? So it's always with an eye of like, how does Jetstream 20x in size with the same team size, which is sort of what I'm aiming for. We've all agreed in the business that apart from developers, we don't want to hire more people. So we don't see a world where we need to triple our guest services team at all. It's fixed at where it's at, and we're just going to put AI and tools behind it. And as we do that, all those building blocks are the building blocks of the self. Now, I'm not a PMS, but it's the self-driving channel manager, so to speak. And then down the line, I could see a point where we start putting these systems together. Right now, we're sort of building the blocks, and then we'll assemble the blocks for the thing to run itself. And we're already doing that in little components of the business, by the way. So that's kind of our trajectory for the next 12 months, but really focused on internal efficiency.
Okay, love it. Okay, then where do you see the short-term rental tech stack going into 2025 and beyond? What are the system or problem no one is talking about, but should be? Yeah?
Yeah. There's a big question around this, which is, and I don't fully know what the answer is. I have an idea. It's always been the battle of the all-in-one system versus the system that integrates the best-in-class systems. So the platforms, when they get big enough, like the PMSs that have sort of broken out and become the big ones, if you took at the vacation rental side, at the guesties and the hostaways, they they start by being sort of the core and then building APIs to all these best in breed systems. And then they start building those systems internally themselves so they can have a higher margin, so on. And then it's the battle of, well, what's the best? That's the million
Yeah,
dollar question. And then AI is going to
yeah,
bring another
exactly.
element into all this. Is like, well, does AI allow a better all-in-one system, or does AI allow a better coordination of best in of breed point systems? I
Yeah.
think that AI will allow coordination, a better best in breed system. You can't, just for running a software development team and company, you cannot be the best at everything. It's impossible unless you had, $2 trillion in the perfectly run company in the world with, 400,000 software developers that were perfectly managed. Then maybe, yes, you could do the best of all the things, but in a normal business with normal financial constraints, you can't. Versus point systems and solutions that are run by people absolutely passionate about what they do, like us in our vertical, but I mean, all the verticals. Uh, I think you're always going to have the best in point systems. So therefore, I believe that the best systems moving forward will be sort of like a core PMS that is like an MCP first, coordination layer first system. So that's kind of like at a high level where I think the best solutions will be in the future. And there's some like Apollo, for example, in our industry that seem to be heading in that direction, which I admire. I share that thesis
Mm.
on the technology side
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
But what do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah,
No, no.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not an engineer, but I do think nobody can do perfectly everything.
Yeah.
And AI with workflows, automation, I'm touching all these NNN, N8N or make, to
Hmm.
connect one pieces to another piece, and you know that better than I. Um, and and I think that's the best way to do, but also make sure that I think there is a contrarian approach saying that the more complex the automation or workflows, the better risk of
Yes.
malfunction, and then again, we have to go through simplicity, through making something very easy to use, and one step at a time. Then
I yeah.
we'll see.
But this debate has been going on forever in the tech world, at least in our industry, and it will
Yeah,
continue. I'm just very curious to see how it will evolve, and maybe it'll continue just being the same debate in 10 years from now, just with better AI, better tools, better technology. Yeah, so
yeah,
that's where that's going. And then in terms of sort of the frontier, I was just speaking to a really cool young entrepreneur this week who was he reached out for some advice, and this guy has a vision of building something around sort of like your Netflix account knows what you like to watch and presents
yeah,
you shows that you like. You could say the same with Airbnb. Your Airbnb account, like you will get different results for a destination than I would because we like different things and it learns. He wants to build something that is almost like on the guest side of things, on the personalization for the guest, not even just for hospitality, for other things, for local activities. So almost like you would create your own account, and then this AI powered technology would learn your behaviors in hospitality, and then you would sort of own it's your own account. It's almost like your Netflix account of hospitality, and then you could share that with different hospitality providers. I mean, it's so I guess my point is like the frontier I think is going to be around the truly the guest personalization. We've been trying to do personalization, loyalty programs, personalization, presenting the right listing, but that's just the tip of the iceberg, I think, and I think there's going to be a lot of development on that side of things. It's not where JetStream is
yeah,
at, but I think there's going to be a lot, and AI is going to allow that at a scale that we haven't seen
yeah,
before.
yeah. It's what we call prediction. Uh, Trying to predict something, the behavior of your guest behavior, and it could be a prediction of new prospect coming into your company, or a prediction of how can you make a 20% revenue growth in in the next 6 months. Then yeah, definitely AI will help in that
Yes,
regard.
yeah.
Um,
So that's exciting. And then there's
yeah,
things we don't even know yet, but definitely the guest shopping experience is still hasn't evolved that much really. Like, yes, you're getting better results shown on booking.com and so on. But at the end of the day, you're still going and booking on booking.com. And then you go to Viator and you book your activities or this and that. You know, it's like, I think
yeah.
that's going to
But
start converging in a way better way.
yeah, the better the data. I mean,
Yeah.
we have an amazing amount of data, accumulating data. We have to treat this data better, and maybe that's why we are getting there little by little. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Let's wrap up with some. I like to call this quick fire question, and
Okay.
just don't think too much. Just what come to mind. One underrated prop tech company that should all be watching.
I'm going to mention that Apollo again that I mentioned.
Yeah,
I keeping tabs on those guys. They're,
yeah,
I think their thesis is bang on.
yeah. Okay. What tool or app can't you live without on a day-to-day basis in your work?
In my world, Slack for
In
sure.
your in your
Oh, in
work
my
and
work, yes,
word, of course.
in my
Yeah,
work world,
yeah, Slack.
Slack for sure. It's all Slack.
Wow. Yeah. You're not the
You,
only one saying
no,
this.
no,
Yeah,
it's
that's sweet.
crazy powerful.
Uh, Fantastic. Um, who's someone in real estate or tech world you respect or you have learned from?
My goodness, somebody in the real estate tech world that I have learned from. I mean, my
Maybe.
good friend Will Slickers he just sold to Skift a really wonderful, uh, really hospitality media company, and so he just interviewed tons of people, and I listen to his podcast all the time. So I'm thankful to him for bringing a lot of people that I respect or that I admire from afar, or CEOs or founders of other companies. and bringing them to, uh, in a format that I can listen to. And of course, it worked so well that he actually exited to Skift. So I'd say Will Slickers. Thank you, Will.
Okay. I think you should introduce me.
Okay,
Okay.
will
Very
do.
cool. Wonderful. Emmanuel, this was a sharp, focused, and full of insight. I really appreciate your taking the time to share your journey and what you're building at Jetstream. This is really amazing. Bravo.
Nah, it was a pleasure chatting with you. And thanks for
Ve-
making this podcast available. I'm sure it's useful and
uh,
for your listeners.
Very, very useful for my listener. Where can they find you or your company? What's the best way for the audience to get to in contact
So
with?
me, LinkedIn, Emmanuel Lavoie, Lavoie, and then our website is jetstreamtech.io. And I'm always keen to connect with anybody on LinkedIn. Shoot me a message, and we can always hop on a call. Thank you so much.
That's great. That's great. I definitely learned a lot. I really enjoy our conversation. I think we should do it again in a year from now, and see everything we add and the evolution. I can't wait.
Okay,
Thank you
likewise,
so
Laurent.
much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Emmanuel. And that's it for today's episode of the AI Interconnect. And if you enjoy, um, share it with someone who is building the future, or even better, someone who should be. And until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep building. Thank you.